Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hey, friend, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here, and I hope you are doing well. Can you believe how fast time is flying? It's already the end of May. We are just minutes away from peony season here at the Phineas Wright House. It's been all about those beautiful girls this past week since I've been home, and it's such a I don't know, such a reminder and gift and life lesson. A part of their preparation is thinning the amount of blooms that are on each plant. So I'm faced with this dilemma every season, whether it's the peonies or the peaches, of asking myself, do I want 5,000 peonies, or do I want 1,000 beautiful, epic, long-stemmed, gorgeous blooms? And it's a struggle because sometimes I want 5,000. Sometimes I love that there's that many is an option. But what I've learned over the years doing this work, having these conversations on the podcast, that sometimes my desire for more is really coming from a feeling of lack, and that I might be afraid that I'm not going to have everything that I need. And so when I remind myself of what I know, when I remind myself of how much storage I actually have to keep those peonies doing well, 1,000 beautiful blooms is more than enough. And so I know we celebrate the yeses around here, but sometimes our wisest yes is a no. Sometimes it's saying that less is in fact more, that it is the experience that we're longing for is one that we can be fully present with, and not something that causes a different level of stress and scatter and moving about, trying to find a storage facility for all of the goodness that has come our way. So I just wanted to share that little life lesson that I'm getting from the peonies, and I'm about to get the same thing from the peaches as I thin those for the summer harvest. This dreamy barn life is no joke, and it is teaching me and refining me and reminding me every day. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful for this podcast. I'm so grateful for you, for these conversations, for the ways that you're being impacted when you share that with me. It just fills my heart and it never gets old. So keep it coming because I love it. I also loved this conversation with today's guest. We have Darshana Avila with us today. She is a trauma-informed somatic educator, practitioner, and international speaker who helps people reconnect with the most essential aspects of themselves, their truth, their desires, and their capacity for profound pleasure and power. Known for her grounded, candid, and relational approach, she bridges the worlds of embodiment, emotional intelligence, and personal agency with depth and accessibility. Darshana's work has been featured on Netflix, Sex, Love, and Goop, The Guardian, The New Yorker, and numerous leading podcasts, including this one. So please enjoy this wonderful conversation with Darshana Avila. Darshana, I already love this conversation. Thank you so much
Good way
for
to
being
begin.
here.
Good way to begin.
It's so good. I should just hit record before I even let the person into the room, because there's typically so much yummy connection in those first couple of minutes of
Yeah.
getting to know someone that
Yeah.
I just think, oh, wait, stop talking. I want
Right.
everyone to hear the magic coming out of your mouth.
Well, maybe we could recreate some of it, or there's just going to be new magic coming in.
Right. I bet there's so much magic waiting. So thank you, thank you, thank you for your time, for your energy, for everything that you've done consciously leading up to this conversation. I really appreciate it. And living in a very epic, beautiful, fantastic moment in time for myself, I'm very mindful and aware of the preparation to bring me to the woman that I am today, and know that that's true for all of us. So thank you for your work.
Oh, what a gorgeous way to be welcomed and acknowledged. Thank you. I'm receiving. I'm letting that in.
It feels so good.
Yeah.
It's all spoken in truth and love. And I'm telling my listeners all the time, I'm obsessed with this podcast. I love it so much. It's like the best version of speed dating ever, because I don't know these amazing women, but I
Right.
trust in the people that are sending me emails, and it just feels good.
And here we are.
And then several weeks later, their interview date comes, and then several weeks later, it airs, and yet the timing is always perfect.
There is something to divine timing. It's got to be said.
Right. I love it so much. So, how are you saying yes to yourself in this season?
In this season, oh, I like that it's a seasonal question.
Yeah, there are seasons in a woman's life.
Yeah,
So it could mean
yeah,
anything you want.
yeah. I am in a season of a lot of surrender. And
Mm.
so, a way that I'm saying yes to myself is saying yes to life. It's like, what do you want from me, for me? Like, and instead of worst case scenario thinking, like very much about like best case, like surprise and delight me, life. Like, like come on, let's play together. And this has been the culmination of a journey of practicing this in small increments, distancing from it, coming back, like over many, many, many years. I would consider myself a spiritual seeker through and through. This is not a new part of me, but something's deepened. Something has landed in my body, which
Mm.
I'm a body-based person. I'm a somatic coach. My body is integral to everything that I'm about and do. And to feel this softening, this opening, this allowing, this surrender, like as a more embodied state, just as I'm like washing the dishes and getting onto the Zoom room and doing all the things. It's pretty amazing. It's really delicious.
All of the words.
Yeah. Yes, I like a lot of words, so
I
you're gonna get a
and
lot.
I like all of the ones that you said. They come from my lexicon, so we are speaking the same language. I think there is a tendency just in our social interactions to ask a person, like, how did you get here? Or tell me about yourself, or all of these things. And although our past experiences, of course, have formed who we are and what we value, sometimes through contrast, but hopefully, more times through alignment. But what I'm really fascinated in knowing is like learning about the woman you're becoming.
Mm,
Like, I think there's so much in that saying
yeah.
yes to yourself, but like, what are the values and the dreams of the woman who is cognizant of her embodiment?
Yeah. You might get some tears out of me if that's the direction we're going in. So
That's
just
how you know I'm not lying. So, yeah, everyone, you are in the right
yeah.
room.
Well, one tiny nod to the past is that I would say I'm a recovering perfectionist. I'm a recovering control freak. I'm a recovering people pleaser. I'm a recovering type A, juggle all the things, believe that you have to do it all by yourself and to the letter of perfection. And it's like, which it's kind of wild to me. Like what is that? What is perfection? What on earth is like where does this notion come from? you know, like it's so crazy. And like you, I have a habit, certainly in my personal interactions, of I don't ask people what they do for a living. That is
Mhm.
something I'm just like, I am so disinterested. If it comes up, great, but it's not like, hi, nice to meet you. What's your job? Like, you know how that's a norm in certain mainstream contexts. And
Yes.
yet I started hosting a podcast that's been out in the world as of only a few weeks at the time of us having this conversation. And I'm reflecting like, a lot of times, like with my guests, it's like, so tell me your story. You know, how did you get here? I'm like, oh, that's kind of like a version of taking people into the past. Anyway, I digress. Um, this me that I am becoming, when I speak of softness, that's something that on every level, like I can talk about that as a woman who's about to turn 45, who has journeyed through body shape and size and weight and love and not love and fit and toned and curvy and voluptuous, and like I could talk about it on that level. I could talk about softness as an energetic quality, right? To when I move in the world, very defended and armored and spiky, as compared to a more permeable, movable, and it's not, maybe even permeable isn't the word, but there's a is that the right word? Tentegrity. I feel like I'm using a word I don't fully know, which is rare for me. but that there's a fluidity and an adaptability and
Yes.
like oh, you can lean in here.
Adaptability over vulnerability.
Yeah, and I'm big on vulnerability,
Totally,
even
but not in a way that makes me feel unsafe.
exactly. It's not that I'm without boundary. It's not that I'm without that uprightness, but I also can be in a softness and in a receptivity. And then I think my heart is in a much softer place these days. I've gone through a lot of loss in my life, which is, like that's just what is so. Both of my parents have already passed. I have a very small bio family. I've a marriage that ended, other relations. I've done life as many of us have, and there are ways where that could harden my heart and has in certain moments, but right now I feel a lot of softness in my heart, and really what that shows up as is like my love is really big and it's like really available, and people feel it. I know that people feel it. My clients feel it. My
I
friends
feel
feel it. You feel it. Like we were just talking. I was just visiting my nephews who are 12 and 13 and a half. So like, boys at that age, and like the bit like what had moved me to tears was I was like, oh, my boys know that their auntie loves them. Like my love is a fact of their 12 and 13 and a half year old boy lives. I'm like, that's so cool. They moved across the country a couple of years ago. So it used to be that I saw them all the time. And I'm still kind of getting accustomed to the fact that we see each other twice a year now. And I've
mm,
been like, there's a part of me that worried of like, is our closeness going to remain? And they're like, auntie, like, they love it. It's great. So those are some of the ways that it's showing up.
I
Yeah.
love all of that. And I love that transition from feeling like you need to defend
Yeah.
to surrender. And the surrender, which I know what you're speaking of, is not a giving up, but
No.
a handing over. And it's just yummy. And we think that that's scary, and if we're not doing all of it, and if it's not perfect, and if we're not like just like I
Mm-hmm.
can't even say the words without clenching my teeth.
Yes.
And to think that that's the way to guarantee the most enjoyable experience, it's like, wait, that doesn't make sense.
No.
If it hurts and it's heavy and I'm like cramping from grasping so hard,
Right.
how is that the guarantee of an enjoyable experience?
Right. And I clenched my fists as you were talking. I don't know if people are watching this, listening to this, but it's like clenched fist, open hand. So surrender to me is the open hand. And we do, like you've got the hands up version of surrender, but I'm talking more about a soft, relaxed, open cup of the palm as a physical, as an embodiment, as a physical demonstration of this energy, because what on earth can get in when you're gripping, 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 and everything is so locked down? There's just no room. Call it what you want: divine, spirit, universe, life, synchronicity, congruence, like whatever your words are. Where can it come in? And my world folk, like I support people in the realms of erotic embodiment, sex, intimacy, relationship. And this theme of surrender comes up in there a lot, because most of the people who I'm helping, it's they have this kind of double bind of, I want softness, I want a connection, I want intimacy, I want to allow. Why can't I? And you and we've just found our way into the conversation about the why, because it's not enough to mentally want. We
Right.
actually have to create the physical and energetic and spiritual conditions for that openness, that softness, that allowing. And
Mhm.
and this has definitely been a big piece of my journey personally, as much as it's a professional focus, that through intimate relating, my understanding of surrender has evolved. You
For
know,
sure.
I had a lot of defenses. I'm the daughter of mental illness and grew up with an environment that like my defense system was there for a reason. It was a survival strategy. It protected me well. And then in my adulthood, I got to start unwinding all the ways that it was no longer serving me, as many of us do, right?
Yeah.
And so this idea of surrender used to feel threatening. The level of
Sure.
vulnerability was one of threat. Like I literally could die here. That's how it feels when we are under threat, when our threat response system is what is at the front of the line as we're going through life. And so threat softening into a vulnerability that actually builds intimacy, that
Mhm.
creates the context for connection to be possible, for pleasure, for delight, for joy, for, in this case, the orgasms, the heart connection, like that degree of surrender. First of all, it takes a lot of power and strength to do it. So it's not a weakness. It's actually an incredibly strong person who can choicefully lay down the armor. And that's the emphasis on our personal choice, our agency. And that's my journey. It's yes, I help other people do this, and this is very much the path that I've been walking as well.
Gosh, it's so yummy. I have so many questions.
Ask
Okay.
away.
Oh, so I mean, even going back to what you were talking about, the posture of surrender and the open palms, it is this posture of receptivity. And we know that like that is also the feminine energy, is to receive. And
Mhm.
I feel like the cultural narrative, or at least the one that I was immersed in, was that the feminine, as far as the person, the role in relationship, was the giver, the nurturer, and to understand like, oh no, wait a minute, those are actually characteristics of the masculine, divine masculine energy. And obviously people can I mean, and do we personify both of
Yeah.
those in us? However, the cultural narrative that I grew up in was this is the role of the wife, this is the role of
Yep.
the husband. And one of the unspoken of many rules was you don't question the other one because they know better, because they are bigger and stronger and right. And like all of this stuff that, you know,
Just isn't true.
well, exactly
That's the
right.
thing. Like,
And fosters the requirement, the untrue requirement for perfectionism, which
it's a
is,
script. It's
yes,
a
and
script. I talk about what you're describing as a cultural narrative, that I use that term often. It's a script that we've been handed unknowingly, that we have been reading from unknowingly
no one's mad. No
until
one's
we know.
mad that we're doing it. So,
Right. And it is, it's like the notion of the feminine as like when we're speaking about feminine and masculine archetypes and energetics, yes, the feminine is known for more receptivity, allowing, receiving. I have a part of my spiritual background includes a lot of yogic and tantric study. And an analogy that gets used a lot in those realms is the feminine is the river that flows and flows and flows, and the masculine is the banks that is holding and containing. And that holding and containing is a giving. It's a
mhm,
doing. It's like also true is that that flow of the feminine can be a giver, but what she is doing, like she's receiving that currency, that energy, and then putting it into motion. And so I think we get a little simplistic sometimes when it's like just giver, just receiver. We
right.
are more complex than that. And yet it's helpful to have these models and examples and archetypes to draw from to look at our own way of being. And to your point, as girls and women in our dominant culture, we are taught to be people pleasers. That's why one of the things I named myself as was a recovering people pleaser, which the thing is, I'm also like a strong willed, opinionated, loudmouth New York Jew who has like always been, fine, like say, like, no. But that didn't mean that I wasn't also trying to accommodate, ingratiate, to preempt what was needed, to keep the peace, even though I'm not afraid of confrontation, because these are simply things that are normalized in that cultural narrative, that script that we're handed. And what ends up happening, that I see, that heteronormative particular dynamic where it's like man, man is supposed to just receive all of your care and attention. It's like, but also, hang on, man is supposed to be the provider and the protector, which is a form of giving. Again, like these cultural tropes just limit all of us. They're not doing anybody favors, whatever your gender is. What unlocks it, what liberates us, what actually brings us into the experience then where the softening, the surrender, the vulnerability, these beautiful things we've been speaking of become possible is when we throw all that out the window. And it's like, what is wholeness like?
Right.
What
Right.
who am I whole? Not just this, not just that, not the binary, not the I only have this role or I'm only responsible for these things, but who am I in my wholeness, and what happens when me and my wholeness comes into relationship with you and yours? And like, what do we get to do? What do we get to co-create there?
We're all identified that we've grown up in this narrative. We are the majority recovering people pleasers. We understand that perfectionism is a trauma response. And we can keep telling the story of why that environment was bad for us and how we've been wronged or we can acknowledge that everyone was doing the best they can with the tools they have, and we know better, we can do better, all of those things. And so we have this opportunity to not rewrite the past, but assign a value to that contrast that gave us the opportunity to create something different for our future.
That's totally real. And I mean, that is very central to the work that I do. So one of my certifications and one of the big scopes of my professional practice is I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner.
Mm.
So that is a very body-based trauma healing modality, if folks aren't familiar with it. And the SE is the acronym for somatic experiencing. So in the SE world, it's like I'm far less interested when it's my clients, when it's me, like I'm far less interested in like we have to dissect every piece of your past. For some people, that there can be a merit to going through the story to give it another outcome. That's the piece that matters. It's not the going through the story, it's the can the ending change? It didn't change 20 years ago. It changed in the way physiologically, emotionally, mentally, energetically you're relating to it here and now.
Exactly.
And that's where the healing happens. That's where the bracing and the tension that's been in your body, keeping you prisoner, suddenly starts to unlock. The armor falls away. That's when the intimacy that felt so out of reach that you feared or deflected or what have you, suddenly now it's like, oh, maybe I want closeness. Maybe I want connection, right? And so it's about how do we change our present moment
Yes.
experience.
Yes.
And to your point, the value we assign, the meaning we make. It's like, yeah, I'll use my own example. I had a lot of bitterness, a lot of resentment, a lot of judgment toward my parents for the things that they weren't for a very long time. And when I started, you said the exact words. It's like when I started to really hang out in the space of they were doing their best, like they were doing the best they could with what they had, and began to truly believe that was a fact. And for a while I had to believe it was like an aspiration, like fake it
Exactly.
till you
Right.
make it, right? And that's
Yeah.
great. Fake it till you make it is actually a really valuable practice in certain regards. Like in
For
this way, it's
sure.
helpful. Like, okay, so what if I just let myself appreciate that I was loved? And what if I let myself appreciate that my parents who grew up with their own trauma and dysfunction and were the children of mental illness like themselves, like what if I started to appreciate how far they came from their origins, and now here I am coming that much further, like, and see it as lineage, and which I think with family of origin, if we choose it, an ease of looking at this as like a spectrum, a contiguous spectrum of lineage that is evolving over time. It may, different relational context, you might use different ways of orienting to it, but yeah, I feel like I'm getting off on a little tangent with that.
No, I love it all.
Yeah. But it's like nowadays, I'll just bring it to the present. It's like I, my father has been dead for 17 years at this point. My mother for 3.5. So she's a little more recent. And I genuinely, I start every day before I get out of bed. I have a practice of, I sing my prayers in the morning. Like I sing to the
Oh,
divine and I sing to my ancestors and I sing to the little parts of myself that are needing some care. And I just sing because it makes me happy. It brings joy in. It centers that love, that softness, that gratitude. And it's like, so I wake up and I sing to my dead parents. If you had asked me 5 years ago if I thought that would have been my life, 3 years ago that would have, like, I would have said no, because these resentments have been unwinding. This softening has been happening over time.
neat.
Ultimately, though, it's like, I'm sure it's good for them. I do believe in that. It's good for me.
That's right.
Forgiveness is a beautifully selfish thing.
Oh,
We
100%.
reap the benefits of letting go of our resentments. We reap the benefits of forgiving. Like it's not actually about the other person, even if it also happens to benefit them. So,
I could not agree more. I am a student of A Course in Miracles, and one of the beautiful lines, which, it can take a bit to wrap your head around, but it is that forgiveness is the illusion that ends all illusions. And that,
love that.
God's never condemned us of anything, so he has no need to forgive us, but it makes us feel better to have this practice that, that
There you go.
lets us get past it.
Yeah.
And I think that everything that you're saying is so beautiful. And I have a practical question.
Please.
Okay, so well, recently completed with the very long divorce.
Okay. Congratulations.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, just making sure.
From day one. Yes.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you. And for a lot of times I just call myself, well, most episodes, I call myself out on something because I'm really not interested in pretending it's any other way. And I have this beautiful resource sitting right in front of me. So
Ask away. I love
thank
it.
you. Okay. So for, gosh, a decade, no intimacy,
Mhm.
and then a really long divorce. So, I mean, it's been a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And as I re-enter the workforce, as they say,
Let's not. I'm going to give you a better metaphor.
not the workforce, it was
Yeah.
just the words that came to me.
The
As
play, the play
right,
field, not the work.
exactly, exactly. I think about these things. I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't gone on a date since I was 19 years old, and I'm 57,
Mm-hmm.
and my body does not look the same.
Mm-hmm.
And, just the familiar little shame spiral situation. And then more recently, I decided like, oh, wait a minute. Alignment is hot. And like my certainty, that is incredibly attractive. Yeah,
You and your power.
that's right.
Yeah.
It's a prize. So my mind has caught up, I think, with this high vibration image of myself, knowing, not
Congrats.
certainty. Thank you. I'm interested to know how I and anyone else can train my body to respond to what I now know to be true compared to where
Ooh.
I last left it.
I love how you like where that went and how that just got encapsulated. Train my body to what I know now, to the alignment of the present moment. Right. Because most of us are the approach that we've taken to dating is trying to get the other person to like us.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so let's just normalize that. This is not like personal shaming. This is not you have to vilify yourself and beat yourself up. But most of us have the model of, again, this is back to those heteronormative the narratives that we've been given, the scripts we've been handed. So it's like, oh, I need to make myself pleasing to you, attractive to you, get you to like me so that I can then secure. And this is now, this is going back not all that far, generationally speaking, to when, as a woman, we really actually needed that. We
Right.
needed the security, the material provision of being tied to a man. Clearly, that's not the case because you just told me some things about the amazing stuff you're up to in the world. I don't know if I can say it out loud
You
yet or not.
can say it. I want to hear
You
it.
just bought a chateau.
I love that story. Yes, I did.
I love that story.
Thank
So
you.
clearly you are dynamic and empowered and making things happen in so many ways. And you've got this incredible creative energy, what I call erotic energy. So eroticism for me is an umbrella term, and it includes sexuality beneath that. But fundamentally, erotic energy is life force energy. Erotic energy is vitality, it's creativity, it's passion. And so here you've clearly found a way to channel that, to
Mhm.
come into your aliveness and your power in your professional life, in your spiritual life, in your personal growth. And so now comes this beautiful opportunity. It's like, how do I actually
Yeah.
feel this in my body and
Yeah.
share this with another person? So the
Mhm.
first thing is, it's not about getting them to like you. It's that word alignment. It's you're discerning, do I feel aligned with this person? Am
Mhm.
I a version of myself that I enjoy? And so in order to do that, we get to take a bit of an inventory of like what are the particular experiences, sensations, emotions of me enjoying myself.
Mhm.
For me personally, I want to feel relaxed. I want to feel at ease, physically speaking, certainly, and emotionally. I want to feel free in my speech, like that I'm not censoring myself, because
Exactly. Okay.
it's rare that the other person is actually doing that, especially if we're on a first date. We're doing it to ourselves. We're the ones contorting ourselves. How do I make myself pleasing? How do I make myself palatable? So you got to get on to yourself.
Right.
Know your baseline.
Mhm.
And this is exactly the kind of thing that I'm guiding my clients in. So I'm like, Wendy, I got to get you in my
Right.
office.
That's right.
And the next level from there is that exact same premise applied to physical experiences of intimacy. What actually brings delight, pleasure, warmth, excitement into my body? How do I want to be touched? How do I want to share my heart, not only my body? So really the baseline is it's one of self-knowing. And if you haven't been exploring yourself through those realms, which is true for so many, especially when we've been in long-term monogamous relationships, even sexless, not sexless, everything we've known about ourselves has been shaped by that other person for the most part. Very few of us have chosen to explore our sexual, sensual, intimate self for our own sakes.
Right.
And that's exactly the thing that I help people do all the time, is like get to know, like, what is your pleasure? How do you feel just as empowered conveying and communicating what you want in an intimate context as you would in a professional one?
Sure.
Because a lot of us might shine in one aspect of our life, but be very diminished in this other. You're nodding as if you
Right.
know something
Well, I mean,
about
just
that.
like my original question was, like I want my physical experience
Yeah.
to match my, like what I've retrained my mind. I've created
Right.
thought
So
systems.
no more performing. That's
Yeah.
that's if I was to put it into a simple statement,
Yeah,
what it comes
for
down to is no
sure.
more performing. And
Yeah.
so you're performing anytime there's a phrase that I'm going to do my little air quotes around, the go along to get along phenomenon,
Mm.
which many of us know that in a sexual context. Okay, fine. Maintenance sex. You know what? I'd rather just get it over with than have to talk about it. Certainly, I'd rather just like deal with this than have a fight about it. A thing that happens as a byproduct of a lot of going along to getting along is many of the women that I support look at themselves, they're like, do I even like sex? It's like, it's a fair question to ask because you
Sure.
haven't been having the sex you like.
Right.
You haven't had the sex worth having. You haven't had the intimacy that truly fulfills and nourishes you. So, of course, you're going to be telling yourself a story. Oh, I don't even like this. What if, back to like best case scenarios,
Right.
what if
Yeah.
you got to find what pace works for you? What
Mm.
if you got to be energetically and physically attuned to by a lover who really can meet and match you? What if you learned a more robust vocabulary, not just the spoken words, but the physical enactments of ways to give and receive pleasure and to co-create physical intimacy? Like, what is the best like the best that could come from that? Like, how juicy and joyful and life-giving would that be? And
Yeah.
that's
That
the
sounds
exploration.
amazing.
This is my job. This is like pinch
Sign me
me.
up, queen.
So yeah, it's and the thing that what my why for this work, a little piece of my history. I had a corporate career that I just walked away from because something in me knew like I was meant to walk a different path. I didn't know it was going to be this path.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's like my why is that day in and day out, I get to watch, and most of my clients are women. I do work with men sometimes, but most of them are like, I get to watch women, like the light bulb literally go off of like, oh, I love my body. Sex can be fun. This can feel good to me. Oh my God, I didn't know what I was missing. Like it happens all the time. What also sometimes happens, and it's such a sacred and beautiful thing, is they are so in that surrendered, open, soft state that grief that they've been tamping down finally has a space to move.
For
And they
sure.
get to cry and release this energy that's been pent up inside. Longing that they have denied themselves begins to surface. And suddenly they start to widen their vision, their dream, their desires for what's possible. it's so precious.
Right. And recreating a new narrative for themselves as well, because so much a part of mine in that regard is because that person didn't want me sexually.
Right.
I'm not wantable.
Right. And I love that you see that for what it is.
Yeah, I have to name it. Otherwise, if it's running rent free and
Yeah.
may in my brain, I'll believe it.
Right. But that's its own version of when I said at the beginning, like, if you're going to go on dates with new people, this is not about getting them to like you.
Right.
This is about your discernment of, do I like me with them?
Oh, I like that last part. I'm obsessed with me. Like
Yeah.
we even check that box is checked.
There you go. But
Like,
I'm guessing that in the dynamic with your ex, if he did not want to have sex with you, you probably didn't like who you were with him, because yourself, like that would have meant you were compromising something of yourself to stay in relationship with a person who wasn't interested in you. Our job is not to make everybody like us, recovering people pleasers.
I'm like, are you sure about that?
Positive, positive statement of fact. Our job is not to make everyone like us.
Of course, I know that.
But
And
bringing it in here is
my
different.
body got really tight in my chest.
Good tracking.
Like, whew, are you sure that's true? Are you sure? I don't know if this is safe language
Yep,
that, you know what I mean? Like
I
that
do,
is,
because this is the trauma-based work that we do then, because we want to micro dose the experience you're having right now
right.
until suddenly that dosage, that capacity grows. It's like, oh, yep, there's that discomfort. I can relax into it. What happens if you take a breath into that discomfort? What happens if you put your hand on the part of your body where you registered the sensation and you got your hands on your chest and you said a brief affirmative statement of like, it's safe for me to have preferences. It's safe for me to want what I want. It's safe for me to know what I know. And the knowing what we know is a big, like, that tends to be quite core for a lot of us, because the thing is, somewhere deep inside we did know all along that this wasn't the right relationship, that something, like, we know, but then we try to talk ourselves out of what we know. It's not just everyone on the outside that's been the issue. It's that becomes an issue of self-betrayal
Yeah,
that we get to
for
heal
sure.
from.
For
Yeah, so we
sure.
do it in little doses. It doesn't all happen at once. Healing is nonlinear, okay? It takes the time that it takes. But then, kind of, bringing this back to what I was sharing about myself when I said, like, my dance with surrender has been going on for a long time. And then all of a sudden, like, I mean, we're talking like in the last 6 months, like, something dropped into place. And I was like, huh, wow, my nervous system is just so much more settled, so much more capacity. The thing is, life is still lifing. Ups,
Mhm.
downs, arguably very stressful situations. I mean, good Lord, it's happening on
Right.
the collective level,
Yeah,
certainly. But even in my very personal, immediate
sure.
level, life's doing its thing. But my relating to it is now rooted in this foundation of a lot more equanimity, a lot more peacefulness.
And that is what we have, quote unquote, control over.
Right. It's all we get to control.
Yeah, it's
Nothing else is ours.
yeah. My experience of my experience is what I can manage and shift and adjust to. And everyone else, like you said, is going to do what they're going to do. And that, brings back to that alignment. It becomes unconditional alignment. I don't need all of this to look a certain way out here before I feel good. I am my own North Star. I'm a steward. I am a trustee.
Yeah. And I really relate to the word steward strongly, because my belief is like, I'm a channel.
Totally.
This is all about the divine. This is not my business. This is not my home. This is God's. And my when I say God, I don't say God from a religious context. Like I the fact that I use the word has been part of my growth. Like God for me is more of an acronym in that tantric yogic lineage that I carry. Generator, operator, destroyer is kind of the trifecta in the Hindu deity pantheon. So life is generated, operating, another word we could swap in there is sustained, and then destroyed. And that's the cycles of life, the cycles of nature. Another acronym that I love for God is good orderly direction.
Mm,
So most of what's going on that I'm worried about isn't actually mine to worry about. It's not mine to control. Like the only thing I have control over is me, my interactions, my actions, my choices, right? And when I recognize that I'm just stewarding the resources, the energy, the experience of something greater than myself, like there's a lot more spaciousness that comes, a lot more softness. We're back to softness.
and you actually have more to offer
Yes.
to the solution
Yeah.
when you are in that state.
Yeah, totally, totally. And we receive more, give more. Like just that sacred reciprocity flows with so much more ease. And the
Yeah.
same holds true, I'll bring it back to that erotic embodiment sense and the work that I do and the conversation we were having, because when you're not trying to control, when we go back to the open hands versus clenched fist, imagine that energetically through your whole body. When you're not, the control might be, oh, I got to suck in my gut and make sure that my belly's not jiggly, or the control might be, I've got to follow this exact choreography that somewhere is how I learned you're supposed to have sex, instead of, oh, what feels good to my body?
Right.
Where can I soften? Where can I allow? Like when that's what goes on in physical intimacy, the softening and the allowing then is a pathway for sensation and energy to move far more freely, far more abundantly, for you to get awakened, become enlivened by all this pleasure that is your birthright. It's there, it's waiting for you. You've just been blocking it all this time, right? So we stop the blocking when we allow. We stop the blocking when we're just that open channel, that conduit for this energy to move through. And it's beautiful, y'all. There's good stuff waiting there.
And powerful and amazing. And oh my gosh, I was only obsessed with myself right
You're
now.
gonna be even more obsessed with yourself.
Watch out, friends.
And then, another piece is like, being a good receiver and being a good giver are just two sides of the same coin. Because anytime we're talking about a give and receive exchange between two people, one person needs to hang out in one of those spaces so the other can be in the opposite.
Right.
And it can be a turn taking. It also can be very fluid and interwoven. But this idea that we have to constantly be giving means that we're then depriving the other person of that experience too. So when we cultivate more of a capacity for receiving, we allow others to become better givers. We in turn become better givers because we're giving from the fullness, the wholeness of all that we've received. It's very cyclical like that. And it's also chicken egg, like you could say, like, where do we actually start? Just wherever you are, whatever you recognize as your growth edge. Yeah. So if it's learning how to receive more, and most of the women I support, that is what it is. And it's, I want to be clear, like I also teach people how to become more skillful givers, because those are teachable skills. And a lot of us feel self-consciousness because it's like, well, I've never really learned how to give. But here's the thing. You never really learned how to give in the ways that feel good to you. So even that is an opportunity to do it more authentically, more aligned. Like, how do I like to be affectionate? How do I like to be flirtatious? How do I like to give, sensual touch? Like, it's not only about the other person's preferences, it's always about what feels good to you. And as someone who's been a body worker for a very long time, because that's a component of the work I do with my clients, is I'm hands-on with their bodies. I can tell you this is just, basic, any body work, or sexual or not, would know this. If you do not feel stable and at ease in your own body while you're putting your hands on someone else, they are going to feel that. So, it could be physical, it could be more energetic, it could be more emotional. What the lesson here is, if you're tight, tense, constrained, stressed out, and you're trying to give to another, touch, advice, whatever it is, what do you think is going to get transmitted?
It's all energy.
It's all energy. So the more we're taking care of ourselves, the more we're in alignment and congruence with ourselves, the more we identify what actually gives us pleasure. That is the transmission that we are sharing with others. So when we talk about stewarding or being a channel for, like, this is how we do it well.
My gosh, it's so good. This was so fast.
So fun.
Gosh, amazing. Thank you for your
My
time.
pleasure.
Please tell everyone where they can find and follow you, how they can interact with your work, all of the good things.
So you've got the Deeper with Darshana podcast. My website is my name, Darshana Avila. You can find the podcast, you can find my quiz, you can find my membership, like all the resources to learn about me, work with me. And then if you're into the socials, I've got a presence on Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn, and social media can be a little weird these days, but I am there. One thing that people sometimes like to know is that, because I've spoken about my private practice, and I'm very, very fortunate that a lot of my clients travel from different countries, different parts of the US to spend a few days doing this kind of work with me. So if you're excited by what you've heard and you want to learn more, geography is not a barrier. It's possible.
That's wonderful. I love that. We'll link everything down in the show notes. But I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you for this conversation.
It was such a delight.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site, or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wright House and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.